What's happening, people? It's your boy Ratzi here for DJKit. Welcome back to the Isolation Ratcave, and it's a big one for me today because the guys over at Hercules have just announced the DJControl Inpulse 500 controller. Now, big up to the guys at Hercules because they've sent me one to take a little look at before the release date. So as I like to do with all of these kind of new controllers, I'm going to start off with an unboxing and then I'm going to get it plugged in and we'll see what it's all about. So let's get into it, man. First things first, let's see what you get in the box. Right then, let's take a little look at what you get with this Inpulse 500 controller from Hercules. So, right, let's start here. So this is the USB cable, which is awfully snazzy, might I add. Look at that. It's so a little different from the kind of standard USB cables that you get with these DJ controllers, which are like a solid kind of rubber wire. This one is a nice red and black roped wire, so a bit more flexible by the looks of it. So yeah, that's a USB cable. Then next up, you've got your manual here, and right now let's take a look at the controller itself. So it's all packaged up pretty nicely, but actually, that's all you get is the, I was just having a little look here to see if there was anything hidden in this cardboard, but no, all you get is the manual, the USB controller, and then the actual controller itself, which tells me that this controller must be USB powered, doesn't need a mains cable. So, right, let's get rid of this box and we'll take a good look at the controller itself. Right then, gang, so the Hercules DJControl Inpulse 500. Here we have it. My first impressions of it are it's pretty big for the price point. Like, it doesn't look like an entry-level controller. It looks more like the kind of mid-range controllers that you would find, but it is the same price as an entry-level controller. So the controller itself comes with licenses for two DJ softwares, Serato DJ Lite, which is obviously Serato's kind of entry-level version of the software, and it also comes with a license for DJuced, which is Hercules' own DJ software. So before we look at how the controller works with each software, because it does differ slightly with some of the controls, let's take a look at the controller itself. So as you can see, the Inpulse 500 is a 2-channel controller. Let's have a look at the jog wheels here. They're 5.5 inches and they're pretty solid. There's no jog adjust on the controller itself, but to be fair, the actual jog of the wheels here is a pretty good, like in the middle, not too sort of loose, not too tight. It's a pretty good happy medium for the jog wheels there, so thumbs up. So these 5.5-inch jog wheels are fully touch sensitive. So, you know, when you're playing your tune, you can treat it like a vinyl if you've got vinyl mode on, or if you've got vinyl mode off up here, it treats it more like a kind of nudge when you're hitting it like that. You've also got slip mode up here, which basically, you know, you can mess with the tune like that, but then the tune will still carry on going in the background and then snap back to the position that it would be had you not touched it. Also, you've got the quantize button up here, something which I always like to keep on. Now onto the mixer section. As I said, it's a 2-channel controller, so you've got 2 channels here, 3-band EQ on each side with a gain knob, 2 filter knobs here, and 4 effects here. But we'll get onto that in a little bit. Now, as I said in the unboxing of this controller, it doesn't come with a power cable. So the whole thing is USB powered from your laptop. But this is the first controller that is USB powered that has got standalone mixer features. So Hercules actually call it the hardware mixer. And what that means is, the controller itself has got one microphone input and an aux input on the back. It's either an RCA input for the aux or a 3.5 millimeter aux input. And you can use the microphone and the aux without having this plugged into any DJ software. So not quite a standalone mixer in that you can't play any tunes without it plugged into the software. But if you just wanted to use your microphone or use this to play, you know, music like from an aux, whether it be your phone or another CD player or whatever, you can use this mixer for that. Also, while we're on the mic, it's got 2 band EQ on the mic, so low and high, and it's got obviously a mic volume, and the aux has got a dedicated filter, which is excellent. You know, going back to saying, if you were using this with like another kind of DJ controller, you could go back to back, plugging in another DJ controller's output into the aux input of this. You know, you can have a proper good back-to-back DJ set like that. And yeah, dedicated filter for the aux input. Unfortunately, no EQ for the aux. But, you know, with a controller like this, it's nice to have an aux input as a kind of get out of jail free card. Say you're using it to DJ at a wedding or whatever, and you know, your laptop dies at a gig, you know, you can, with that hardware mixer function, even if your software dies, you can still use the aux in and the microphone. It will still play music through the master output of the mixer. Also on the mic volume and the aux volume, it's got a saturation ring, as Hercules called it, which basically there's an LED around the volume knob where it goes from green to amber to red, so you know when your volume's peaking. Also on the mixer itself, again, going back to the kind of price of this controller, you wouldn't expect this. It's actually got a metal plate on the mixer. So, you know, it feels really sturdy. It's built really well. And yeah, you know, it looks very professional too. Now, just a quick one about the crossfader. This Impulse 500 has actually got a crossfader curve select. Very, very tiny there, just above the crossfader. So you can have it all the way over here, which is kind of like a mix. You can have it in the middle, which is more like a cut for scratching, or you can have it all the way on the circle there, which just takes out the crossfader completely. Now, you don't tend to see that on a budget DJ controller like this. It's normally you have to go into the actual software itself to adjust the crossfader curve. So really, really nice touch from Hercules on that front. Now, I'm sure that you would have noticed already, but the Impulse 500 is actually the first 2-channel DJ controller with retractable feet. So you don't have to have it stood up like this. You know, you can have it plush to the table, but the bonus of having it on its feet like this is it raises it up to about the same height as most kind of CDJs. And, you know, some controllers, particularly when you're using them next to other equipment, it can be a little bit too low in a DJ booth. So not only that, but, you know, it protects you from people spilling drinks or whatever. Obviously, spilling drinks on top is always a nightmare. But if a drink gets spilled next to the controller, it will run underneath. You can hide your phone if you've got your phone plugged into the aux input. You know, pop it underneath so no one can see it. And also, it's got the snazzy little it's backlit underneath. So not the best example here in the isolation Ratcave with my sort of makeshift tablecloth here. But, you know, if you've got this on a black table, say, it will look really, really good with those white LED lights underneath, giving it, you know, just that extra touch. But the thing for me, which is really great about the retractable feet, is you have the choice, you know, of either having it up like this, or when you're transporting the controller, you can pack the feet away and then it makes it slimline for transportation. So just having a little look at the back now, you've got 2 outputs. You've got a balanced RCA output and then an unbalanced 1/4-inch jack output. You've got the mic in, which is a 1/4-inch jack as well, which is balanced. And then, like I said before, you've got your aux in, which is either an RCA or a 3.5. Then you've got your USB, which goes into your laptop, the nice roped braided USB cable here, which goes into your laptop. And then you've got here the Hercules add-on, which, to be honest, I'm not sure what that's for at this point, but it does sound exciting, right? Also on the front of the unit, it's got 2 headphone slots, the 1/4-inch jack and the smaller 3.5. Also in the Jog Wheels section here, you can see the numbers 1 and 2. These are actually LED lights which light up when you're playing the tune. So this is sensitive with the channel fader and the crossfader. So as you can see, I've got the tune down here, but if I just let it through a little bit, see there the light comes on. And if I've got the crossfader all the way over here, so there's no sound coming through, but then I move the crossfader, as you can see the light comes on. So that works on obviously both sides. And, you know, like I said, not essential, but the great thing about Hercules is, and the great thing about this controller, which I'll come on to in a second, is they're so good at teaching DJs the basics. You know, people might get confused about which channel they're playing or whatnot. So, you know, little touches like that make Hercules that little bit better at sort of tuition DJing. So now then, on the subject of Hercules' tuition DJing style, their controllers have this thing called a beat match guide. Now, what this does is it tells you down on the tempo faders and on the jog wheels here whether or not your tune is in line. So, you know, it's quite easy for beginner DJs just to hit the sync button and have their two tunes perfectly in time with each other. But what Hercules tried to do is promote almost syncing the tunes yourself by using their beat match guide. So let's take a look how that works. So let me reel off this tune here. Okay, which is, it tells me on my screen here, this is at 130. So now this tune here at the moment is on 127.45. So I'll drop it and you can hear that that is all at a time. But down here, you can see the red light on the tempo fader is lit up. So what that tells me is I need to move this tempo fader down until that red light turns off. There we go. Oh, just a little bit too much. There we go. So when you've got it in time, then you come up here to the beat line. So it's actually telling me to nod the jog wheel a little bit to the left, a little bit faster. So I do that. And there we go. Now that they're both in time, as you can see, the beat line here lights up green. So now I know that both of these tunes are in time with each other. Just coming out a little bit there, so I'll speed back up. There you go. So that is how the beat match guide works. Great for beginner DJs. Like I said, a sort of nod to Hercules. They've pioneered this beat match guide throughout their other controllers as well. And it works, it's always worked with their DJuced software, but now Serato have hopped on, and this is the first time that Serato have offered the same kind of service in that you can use the beat match guide. So what I just showed you there will not only work when you're using it with DJuced, it will work in Serato as well. So great for beginner DJs, but this controller isn't just for beginner DJs, it's got some great pro features as well. So, you know, someone who already knows how to beat match will feel right at home with this controller, and if they don't want that beat match guide, you can just turn it off by pressing the button here and then mix away without these LEDs popping up telling you to move your jogs and all that jazz. So also along that kind of tutorial vibe, you've also got on this controller an assistant button and this energy ring around the browser knob at the top. So what the assistant button does is basically suggest tunes for you. So if I'm just playing this tune again here, if I hit the assistant guide, it will there, as you can see on my DJuced, it little pop up there with assistant. That will tell me all the songs which will fit nicely with this tune that I'm playing now. So as you'll notice as well, these tunes are different colors. A couple of them are yellow, a couple of them are orange. And the energy bar at the top here is orange. So what that is, DJuced basically analyzes your tunes and figures out whether it's like a high energy tune or a low energy tune. So a low energy tune will be blue and the high energy kind of pumping tunes will be in red. So this tune now is DJuced has kind of realized that it's in the middle somewhere, a little bit more towards the pumping than the calm. So it's orange. So, you know, if I play another tune on the other side here, you can see that this, the energy ring around the browser knob has now turned yellow because this tune's a little bit more laid back. So again, not only does this controller help with beat matching and that kind of stuff, it can help you with your tune selection. Again, though, as well, if you're not interested in that, you can turn Assistant off and then it disappears. You can pick whichever tune you want to play next. So I should say at this point that that energy ring around the browser knob there and the Assistant button, that only works in DJuced software. When you're using this with Serato, the LED around the browser knob goes by beats. So it goes red on the first beat, kind of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then turns red again. So still a very visual aid, you know, so you can learn your beats and your bars. And the Assistant, when you turn that on, it puts Serato into autoplay, which basically when the song that you're playing finishes, it will play the next one in the playlist straight away. You know, great if you're just nipping to the bar or the toilet, or you know, you're at a wedding and you want to go and have a quick chat with the bride and groom or whatever. So now moving down from the jog wheels, as you can see, you've got 8 RGB rubber pads here for each deck. Now you don't really tend to see rubber RGB pads on a controller of this price point. You know, they're either plastic or all one color. So that is a real standout feature on this controller for me. But let's take a little look at the pad features themselves. So when you're using the Impulse 500 in DJuced, the pad options down here are hot cue. So you've got eight different hot cues here. Loop is actually a slip roll. So just to show you how that works, you've got different sizes of the slip roll. Etc, etc. So that goes across all 8 pads. They get the size of the slip roll gets it's the smallest on number 1 and it gets the biggest over on pad 8 down here. The third performance mode is the slicer. Then you've got the sampler over here on number 4. Now, when you're using this with DJuced, you do actually get 4 more pad modes as a secondary option. So if you hit Shift and Hot Cue, then this is a tone play. So I'll just give you a little example. So the top 4 pads pitch up the tune and the bottom 4 pads pitch it down. And then you get back to the original sound, the original pitch by hitting 1 there. Now, mode 6, so shift and loop, this is mode 6. This is actually some effects within the DJuced software. So pads 1, 2, and 3 here turn the effects on, as you can see there in the software. And 5 and 6 and 7 change the effects, so you can filter through your effects there, whichever one you want on the deck playing. And it's worth saying as well, you can have all 3 effects on at the same time. And then hitting 4 here actually makes the effects section disappear within the software. So mode 7, which you get by shift and slicer, is actually a slicer loop. So what it will do is just loop one section, which you can then slice, whereas the actual slicer on its own is it doesn't loop just one section, it goes throughout the tune like that, which you can still slice, but it doesn't stay in one place. Finally, mode 8, which you shift and sampler, this is a beat jump. So basically it will jump through the tune, as you can see here on the software. That jumps 1 beat back and forward, that jumps 4 beats back and forward, 8 beats back and forward, and 2 beats back and forward there. Okay, so now using this with Serato DJ Lite, the pad modes are slightly different and slightly restricted compared to using it with DJuced, or in fact using it with Serato DJ Pro. So pad mode number 1 is still actually a hot cue. So put it on hot cue. You can put your cues in like that, but you only get 4 hot cues. The bottom section here, for some reason, pad number 5 reverses the tune when you hit it, and then take it off, it'll play back to normal. Pad number 6 reverses the tune, sort of winds it backwards pretty quickly. Number 7 winds it forward really quickly, and number 8 reverses it slowly as long as you hold the pad. So, worth saying though, guys, I mean, with this video, obviously I've got this ahead of schedule. I'm using a beta version of Serato at this point, so that might not be the case on the full version upon release. But yeah, 4 different hot cues in Serato DJ Lite. The loop section here is actually a manual loop. So 1 puts starts the loop, 2 finishes the loop, and then 3 exits the loop, and then 4 revisits the loop that you've just done. So the slicer mode here isn't actually a slicer when you're using this with Serato. It is in fact an auto loop. So the top pads here are the different sides of auto loop. So that's a 1 beat loop, 2 beat loop, 4 beat loop, and an 8 beat loop. And again, the bottom pads down here do, as I said before, reverse, etc., etc. Finally, the 5th pad along, the sampler is a sampler, as you can see here. You trigger off your samples. Now, when I held shift and accessed these mode 5, 6, 7, and 8 down here, when you try to do this using Serato DJ Lite, it actually tells you there, upgrade to Serato DJ Pro to use this feature. So only 4 pad modes when you're using this Impulse 500 with Serato DJ Lite. Now, using the pads with Serato DJ Pro, hot cue, you get access to 8 hot cues instead of just the 4. Loop here, like when using it with DJ Lite, is a manual loop. Slicer is a slicer, and the sampler is a sampler. Now, with Serato DJ Pro, you do get to access 4 more secondary functions for these pads down here. So shift and hot cue, this is pitch play. So a little example. The top pads go up in pitch, and the bottom pads start a little bit lower, and like in DJuced, you hit 1 to go back to normal. So mode 7 in DJ Pro, so shift and slicer gets onto mode 7. This is an auto loop, starting with a very small loop on pad number 1 and going up to a larger loop on pad number 8. As you can see there. So the same as the loop roll, but obviously it doesn't carry on playing in the background. So when you exit the loop, it will still be in that looped, in the position that you were just looping there. Bigger and bigger, as you can see. So finally, mode number 8 down here. So shift and sampler. This actually turns the pads into your beat grid editor. So you can move your beat grid forwards and backwards and sort of slide it in and out using these pads here, as you can see on the screen. So different pads do different bits there. So if your tune's not properly beat gridded, you can use the pads to sort it out. Now, from the pads over to the filters and the effects in the mixer section. Now, we all know how a filter sounds and how a filter works. So high pass, moving it that way. Low pass, moving it down that way. But the beautiful thing about using this with DJuced is you can actually pair the filter, which I just showed you there, with 4 different effects here. So let's go through the effects. The default settings in DJuced is effects number 1 is a fade to grey, they call it. So paired up with the filter, it sounds like this. So a nice high pass and a low pass there. Effects 2 is a flanger. So a little bit of flange on your filter there as well. Effects 3 is like a time gate. It's called, it's called a time gate. So kind of like a trans effect. I really like that one. And then effects 4 is your reverb. which paired with the filter, you know, sounds great. Of course, you don't have to have those effects on. You can just use the high pass and low pass filter on its own. And all of these effects are customizable within the DJuced software. So when using this filter and effects section with Serato DJ Lite, unfortunately, you can't double up the effects with the filter like you can do with DJuced. And in fact, you can only use 3 of these effects buttons here because there's only options for 3 effects within Serato. So you can use the filter on its own like so, or you've got the choice of 6 different effects in Serato DJ Lite, which you can assign to 3 different of the effects pads here. So effects 1, at the moment, I've got it on flanger. So you can hear there's the flanger there. Effects 2, I've got it on echo. And effects 3, I've got it on reverb. Now, like I said, because there's only 3 effects within Serato DJ Lite, the effects 4, you get no use out of effects 4, unfortunately. Now, when it comes to using these effects and the filter in Serato DJ Pro, it's the same game as using it with Serato DJ Lite. You can only use 3 of the effects pads. You can't double them up with the filter. You can either have the filter or assign the effect to the filter knob. But the difference between using it with Lite and Pro is that you get access to all of Serato DJ Pro's effects. There's way too many for me to list them all, but yeah, so you've got more choice of effects to assign to 3 of the buttons down here. So I know that was quite a lot to take in, but just to recap on the Hercules DJControl Inpulse 500, this is the first DJ controller which is linked with Serato to have independent filter knobs on the controller here, and also the first time that Serato have implemented Hercules and DJuced's beat match guide option to help you sort of sync your tunes manually. Also, just to reiterate, this is the first 2-channel DJ controller which has got standalone kind of features or hardware mixer, as they call it at Hercules, without needing to plug it into a power supply. So what is my opinion on this Hercules DJControl Inpulse 500? I think it's fantastic. For the price of this unit, like I said at the start, this is priced around the same as your kind of entry-level controllers, you know, 2-channel entry-level controllers, but it's a lot bigger. You're getting a lot more of a professional kind of layout. It's got the legs, which elevates it. It's got the beat match guide. You are getting so much bang for your buck with this Hercules controller. I'm really impressed with it. I think it would be great for entry-level DJs, but also, you know, even taking that beat match guide off, you can use this if you're a experienced DJ. You can use it on DJuiced and Serato. What I would say is if you're going to use this with Serato, it would probably be worth upgrading to Serato DJ Pro, just for all the use of the extra pads and stuff, and the extra effects on the effects section down here. But the build quality of it is solid. You know, you've got that metal plate on the mixer. It's got a nice little Perspex finish underneath the jog wheel here, which is really nice as well. So yeah, thumbs up from me. Guys, let me know what you think of this controller in the comments. Would you use it? Would you buy it? Would you use it with DJuiced, or would you use it with Serato? Also, remember to like this video, share it to whoever might be interested, and also subscribe to the DJKit page. There's plenty of other videos similar to this of equipment reviews and comparisons and all sorts. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Until the next time, stay safe. Peace.